Alright, so formalities out of the way first. I've been a long time fan of Doom. It's been with me my entire life. I believe it was actually one of the first games I ever played all those years ago. With the new one on the way, Doom the Dark Ages, if you didn't hear, I figured I'd go back, play some Eternal again, but not just play it normally. I wanted to run through it on Ultra Nightmare. Now, for the most part, people will say, yeah, whatever, nerd. Who cares, right? Many people do it and have done it. Many guides out there, whatever. Yeah, I'm doing it on console though, buddy. So, I don't have the quick swapping abilities that PC has. It's gonna be a hard experience, I'll tell you that straight up. I'm gonna have a lot of hurdles here and mountains to climb, but, let's give it a shot. I know it'll probably be one of the more difficult things I've done, but I just wanted to attempt it. Dark Ages coming out made me want to play some more Doom, so why not do it like this, even though it'll probably be difficult. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I sat here and I looked at this difficulty select screen for a while before I actually accepted it, and I sat here reconsidering my options and whatnot, but I finally just said, fuck it, we do this. Now, this first level, honestly, it is kinda easy, but there are parts in it that could easily stop you. I mean, anything in the game can kill you, so obviously you have to take everything seriously. But for the most part, it is smooth sailing if you kind of understand enemy weaknesses and whatnot. It's just the biggest problem is you have like two guns and you don't have any upgrades. Now, I want to remind you, this was my first attempt. This is, after months away from the game, so this is all part of the warm up. And of course, on a controller, you're going to see I don't have the best of aim, but eventually it does start getting a little better because, if I don't make it better, I'm gonna die all the time. And, for those that aren't familiar with this difficulty, it's permadeath. So, if I die, I have to come back to right here and redo everything again. Even if I'm on mission 4 or 5, second to last mission, it doesn't matter. So, the whole, thing about it is I am practicing on Nightmare before I do these runs. This mission, not so much. I figured I could do this one, and spoiler, I did it first try. Who cares, right? But this one, this one was the one I wasn't worried about. The next two missions, talked about a lot more whenever I get there, but it took me a lot longer to actually get down to a fine T where it's like, okay, I feel comfortable doing this. This area is just like, live, basically. Use your sticky bombs. This is another thing I had. When I ran through this game normally, I didn't really care much for the combat shotgun. I wouldn't use it a lot. I would just use, precision bolt for the arachnotrons, turrets, and stuff like that. I would just use super shotgun as my main weapon. So, coming into here, kind of have to use my entire arsenal, right? This kind of makes me respect it a lot more. So that was cool. It just, thing about these weapons is they're all good. It's just that if you can't aim them, they're not going to do anything, of course. So, you know, you kind of have to dial in your aim a bit. But for the console guys, just remember that positioning is important in here. It's a lot better to be moving around constantly than have the best aim in the world, right? Sure, you can delete stuff faster if you have good aim, but you can die a lot easier if you aren't in a very good spot. And yeah, I should probably mention that for the most part, this is just going to be raw footage and me just like commentating over it because, I would do live commentary, but my house is way too loud for that kind of shit. So, this is the kind of stuff that works a little bit easier. So, do whatever works, right? Now, you're about to see me slick my first mod, or second mod, sorry. The thing about this one was I tried to cheese the controls a little bit before and make it to where my rocket launcher was on up on the D-pad, which is, by default, the button for switching the mods. So the game was like, no, fuck you, you can't do that. So this kind of gets you a good example of what my controls look like. It's all almost default except for, like 3 or 4 things. I have my super shotgun on. I think it's down, yeah. And then my arbalist. I say arbalist, but it's the ballista. I just know it as an arbalist because of the mod. It's on my right. So that's my really easy quick swap guns, and I don't get those. Well, Cultist Base is when I get Super Shotgun, and the Ballista, I believe we get, what, after the Super Gore Nest, right? It's either going into it or just after Super Gore Nest, but anyway, I tried to cheese it, couldn't do it, so I had to set it back. We deal with these, alright? We deal with this shit later. It kind of doesn't matter because I'm used to, needing to swap like that. I just wanted to have one extra weapon on a quick swap just so I can have extra damage, in the long run. But at the end of the day, I guess it doesn't matter as long as, you're fast on doing all that. Because, you don't really need to do a lot of quick switching and quick swapping. It's just the fact that you get a lot more damage out of it, and it is strong against the heavy demons. So it's not like it's a bad thing to do. It's actually what you want to do, but you don't exactly need to do it. Jesus Christ, I was watching myself struggle to hit that guy, so having to watch this over and commentate over is brutal sometimes. This first mission was really, really rough. It was messy. I do get a lot better on aiming. I mean, I say that, but I'm still gonna miss, okay? I'm always gonna miss shots. That's why, these runs, even as much as I practice these missions, I could always fuck it up in the actual thing. I'm the kind of guy that messes up in anything. I can mess up attempting it, even if I get it perfect in the practice runs, because every time it feels like it's a little different. Sure, you can try to do the same things in encounters, but it doesn't feel like they all react the same exact way, the demons and such. So you kind of have to adapt, no matter what. Like, for example, my cultist base runs, it took me so long. I had to do so many decent clears before I felt comfortable. And even then, the actual run got sloppy at times because you can never know exactly what's going to happen. You can try your best to manipulate these guys, but, unless you know to a T how to do that, it's a lot harder to pull off, right? So go with what's consistent. Try to find, the good rotations. Try to dodge as much as you can. I mean, I don't have the dodge right now, but you know what I mean. There's a lot of things you have to take into account when you play this game. That's why it's so damn hard, but it's possible. And when you're doing it on a controller, especially, it's an uphill battle. I can only imagine how much easier it is on, mouse and keyboard and such, but I've just been a guy that plays on controller for, I don't know, almost 30 years now, so obviously I'm going to do it. I will say, though, this game does not mess around. You need to know, like, everything when it comes to playing on a controller or even a mouse and key, if that's your thing. It's like you need mastery of your input device to really play this game successfully, and then on top of that, you need to know all the good stuff you need to do in this game. Rotations of weapons, you know, proper muscle memory that's built up over time. Stuff like this, like every little bit counts is what I'm trying to get at. Every little thing you do in this game has an effect on what's going to happen in the very next few seconds, right? Like, you miss a shot, they could easily have killed a guy in here, one of the demons that you need down fast. You miss that, you're going to have a bad time. I've had instances where as soon as I miss the shot, the whole encounter does not go nearly as smooth as it used to because, I miss like a Revenant headshot, not headshot, but turret shot. The little like rockets on his back, shoot the little fucking rockets, you miss that, yeah, that could hurt. Those guys, I feel like they're one of the higher priorities when they're in a room, and you don't get those rockets out of the way fast. Yeah, you're gonna feel it. There's a lot of enemies like that where, as soon as you encounter them, of course you have to disable them as fast as possible, right? Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not always the best at aiming, so yeah, sometimes I'm gonna miss that. Sometimes they're gonna get past me, and sometimes I'm gonna have to think on my feet. But, whenever I have to do that, I show you that in here, and you see, decision making matters. Where you go matters in an encounter. All these arenas, you kind of have to use all of them, even if they're like tiny ones, like in Cultist Base, or if they're like giant ones, like the room you see right in here. knowing where to go for ammo pickups and, chainsaw pickups is really good too. It's a lot of trial and error. And one of the things I learned is until you get into Ultra Nightmare and actually attempt it, your nerves are only going to get the best of you. So you have to get in there and actually try it. Now, running it on Nightmare is not exactly comparable. It is in terms of how hard they hit and such, but it's that permadeath that you feel when you actually play it. It took me a while to actually, attempt this, so I never knew that feeling, but it's a very real thing that you have to worry about in here, right? So you play a lot safer, maybe even a bit safer than you normally would. Me, it's kind of, like I try to go in as close as I can because I like the shotguns, right? But there's also one thing I've learned is when it's permadeath, you gotta play it safe. It's not about how you normally play, it's about the safe strats, any of the, risks you will take. It's either gonna bite you in the ass and possibly kill you, or it will pay off, ideally. But you never know until you try it, right? So even you, the person that may or may not decide on trying this, will have to go through that at certain times. So be ready for it. Honestly, it's quite different from how I usually play Doom or even any other game, right? I just play it normally like, most people do. But taking on this run has made me realize that every choice matters, every mistake is felt, and honestly, it's probably one of the better ways to play this game, even though it's brutal. At times it can be pretty crazy, but once you get into the flow of things, you can actually, survive amongst all that. So it's not too bad if you're actually willing to learn, right? Another thing too is like during your practice runs, say you're supposed to get like a rocket launcher in that mission, practice to the point, you know, complete the whole mission, right? But like you get the rocket launcher and you go to run the mission again, you have the rocket launcher, right? Try to not use the rocket launcher up to the point that you would actually get it in the mission so that you aren't relying on what it can do prior. So that you have consistency, like your combat shotgun and your precision bolt hits are a lot better, before that, right? So you practice all of that before the rocket launcher, part, and then whenever you actually get it, you formulate strategies around that as soon as you get it. That's one of the things that helped me when I was running Mission 3. Same with Mission 2, but truth be told, Mission 2 wasn't that bad. It was just the fact that, like, you get upgrades throughout it. So, like, you kind of have to learn to have the upgrades, in the practice runs, but know, like, when you're actually doing it, you're going to have to earn it normally. It's not a lot, but, anything that can throw off muscle memory can really mess with you. So just keep a lot of these little factors in mind and be ready to practice a lot. Like, I probably haven't practiced something like this since I fucking used to play Guitar Hero as a kid. Like, holy shit. But, not gonna lie, it is kind of addicting to run this game to such a degree where, like, I know exactly what's in most encounters or what I need to do in X zone or whatever. Like, that's kind of fun. It can be a little tedious, I imagine, for some people, but, like, pulling it off is a whole nother degree of ecstasy, right? It's a whole nother fucking side of, like, damn, like, this is fucking fire, this shit fucking hits. It's awesome, that's what I'm trying to say. It's one of those things that I would never have experienced if I didn't finally attempt Ultra Nightmare. And like I was saying earlier, the thing that I didn't want to do was just die in here a lot, right? Keep running it back over and over again, and it's a mental thing that I'm fighting with there. It's not, you know, the skill. Like, obviously I can manage these few levels, right? But the hardest part of the game is when you don't have all the tools, apparently. And it only does get harder, right, in terms of what you need to do to compensate for heavy demons and such and all these new weapons and whatever. It does get harder, but some of the hardest stuff is at the very beginning, okay? This is like that for like RPGs and stuff too, right? You're the weakest at the beginning, and then you start getting more power over time. You know, fucking Doomslayer doesn't have his whole arsenal in the beginning of the game. If he did, my god, these poor souls. Just having one extra thing, like a BFG, that's one thing, sure, but, a super shotgun off a rip, don't give me that. Especially with a meat hook. I will destroy the first few missions, and I will only use that for so long. It's like whenever I actually do get that super shotgun, I feel like a new man because like I said, I main that in my normal runs to the DLC in the game and even horde mode, whatever. I'm sure other people main whatever weapon they find comfortable. Like I love the plasma stuff as well. I mean, there's a lot of good weapons. There's no wrong choice a lot of the time. It's just tools for certain situations. Sorry about the background footage was me trying to go too fast. I didn't realize you had to kill most, if not all, the demons in this area, so this is on me. Don't worry about it. I do get better at the objectives thing, of course, as we do this because I do run it a lot, but just don't speed run these missions. Try your best to go at a decent pace, yes, but don't go too fast. You will mess up. I've learned that, alright? You want to find a decent enough pace that you're comfortable with. Now, I know, first mission done, I didn't talk about the encounters a lot. It's a rather straightforward mission if you know how to take out Arachnotron turrets and you're good with sticky bombs and your chainsaw and a frag. For the most part, you will not struggle with this one if you play Nightmare a lot. But the next ones, that's a whole nother story, okay? Figured I'd throw this in for you so that you can kind of see where I'm at here. I wanted to go for a quick draw belch first, and then I'm probably gonna do either napalm belch or loop magnet next. I haven't fully decided yet, but I went for more health at the start because we're going into Exultia. Exultia? However you pronounce this. Now, this is the mission where you get Blood Punch and Dash, and the Plasma Rifle. This is a pretty important mission, but above all else, it's also a kind of long mission, right? It's not like, Cultist base, but, they're kind of getting you used to running the mission a lot longer, trying to survive for a lot longer. Just be ready to practice this one a lot. I think it took me, what, 2, 3 hours to actually get this, like, down in my brain to be comfortable enough with this. And I'll be honest with you, practice runs are smoother than this, but practice makes perfect and all, so as long as you can complete the mission once without dying, you can do it again, right? And as long as you're starting to get encounters down and start understanding what is optimal in what area, you're starting to get a hold of things, right? Like you saw me try to grenade the opener of this encounter. It worked a lot in practice, but, like I mentioned before, not always will your runs be the same as your practice runs, which is why you need to build strats. Which right there, you saw me chainsaw the Hell Knight. I just did that because I just want to get through this, right? This part especially, you'll have the chainsaw back by the time you need it. So, it's a decent enough strat. I just don't recommend always chainsawing or saving your chainsaw for the heaviest guys because your ammo is important. You're gonna need as much ammo as you can get in these later parts here, so use your chainsaw wisely. Use that kind of strat. Not always, but every now and then. These guys right here are good for flame belching and getting a reset on armor if you've been hit enough, but first rune, I go air control. I find it to be just, almost mandatory for when I'm flying around with the super shotgun, but for the time being, it will just be good for when I'm in the air and I need to get around. What I'm grabbing right here would give you as much health and armor as you can manage, but I had full anyway, so it didn't matter. There's another Hell Knight in here, but if you stagger him with the right combo of a grenade and a few sticky bombs with a precision bolt, he just falls over flat. It just doesn't even matter what he's doing, he just gets deleted. Now, the thing about it is, if you take in armor damage in here, there's pickups, but just get used to using the Flame Belch, honestly. It's your best friend. Right here, just precision bolt both of those demons. I think they're gargoyles, but I saved the combat shotgun sticky bomb for that guy. Of course, Caco demons always reach those, and I don't throw a lot of frag grenades in their mouths, but on the occasion I will. It's just the fact that sticky bomb is just too good until I get super shotgun. I pretty much have just this as an option, so I like having it. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have any weapon points put into anything yet because I'm saving them for the rocket launcher. So this is just default shotgun, default precision bolt, default everything, other than, the crystal upgrades you saw me get. So It just kind of gives you a frame of mind of what I'm aiming for, planning on, working with, whatever. The main problem in this room is one Arachnotron and two Cacodemons. So play accordingly around them. You should be a-okay. Wouldn't worry about it too much. This room can get you those, so respect it all the same, okay? That does matter. Moving on, we have some light traversal. It's not really anything to worry about. This is also an instance where you could easily get armor back. You know, as long as you have several small enemies, it's probably your best bet for flame belching, because what? One enemy gets you 20 armor. So, I don't know, early game you only need 2 of them, really 3 of them, since you have 50. But as you get more and more armor, health, you're going to need to do these things a little bit more to top yourself off on this stuff. So, just keep these in mind. I mean, it's all a bunch of small things that you have to, account for, but once you start getting in there and start thinking these ways and all that, you start getting to the point where it's just second nature. It's not something you start worrying about. It's almost like muscle memory. So, here's our dash. We can now actually move around a little bit better. Right there, I usually go a little too fast and I end up, taking armor in the practice runs, so just, don't fall down a pit like an idiot like I did, okay? Just play it safe like I tried showing you here, because I always just tried dashing immediately and jumping for it. Now that we're in this room again, Hell Knight, try to get rid of him as soon as you can. It's not the worst thing in the world, but, he can easily kill you, okay? Immediately, Cacodemon, don't miss your shots like me. Get rid of him fast. If you have the frag grenade for it, you didn't use it on the Hell Knight, use it on this guy if you gotta. Whenever you can, Cacodemons are just free flame belch targets. So one thing I do is I'll shoot the grenade in their mouth, flame belch them, run up, do the glory, health armor on the spot. It's not a lot, but, every little bit counts, okay? That's one thing you'll realize if you try this yourself. Every bit of armor and health matters, so pick it all up. That's why you see me sometimes going for it in the actual arenas, whenever normally you just keep going. It's all going to help you, okay? Try to keep topped up on health and armor. But here we are. Plasma rifle time. Notice I immediately switched weapons because there's a Revenant in here, and I want to pop off his rockets immediately when he spawns. He was the one guy in this room that really gave me trouble, so he's obviously priority 1. I recommend it being your priority 1 too if you try this, because goddamn, he has ruined my practice runs many, many times. Same with this Hell Knight. Right here, as soon as he jumps up, I just throw a grenade down, hit him with the stickies. If he's not executable by then, precision bolt, he will be either dead or you can just kill him outright. But as you can see here, Cacodemon and a couple other guys jump you. That didn't always happen to me in the practice runs, so, like I've been trying to mention, be ready for anything. They will swarm you when you least expect it. But if you are capable of, thinking on the fly, adapting like that, you'll do just fine. I did try to run a little too fast here again, and I think there's like one guy, like a guy on the stick jump scared me. There's like one enemy in here, so I had to hunt him down, and, I figured they were under the bridge. It's this 1 or 2 guys here that you see. Just, use these guys as easy, free armor or health, whatever, after whatever you just had to go through. Now, in here, it's just tentacle enemies for the most part. Nothing really you have to worry about. Just keep your shotgun ready. Learn the spawns by your practice runs, and eventually you'll, be doing this kind of shit in your sleep. Like, you won't even fucking care about where they're at. One thing you will have to remember, though, versus the practice runs is, like, where the collectibles are, so, like, Praetor suit upgrades, whatever. That's something that, I kinda didn't always remember, so just keep that in mind. I do pick up Heat Blast here, because even though I like both of them, Heat Blast is probably the better one just for convenience sake. Like, I don't have to commit to one target with it. I can use it across the board, and then it's like a shotgun blast, right? I already have seen value out of it in Cultist base, so that's my recommend. If you want Microwave Beam, go for it. There is nothing wrong with going with that, okay? Not a lot of bad weapon mods in this game, in my opinion. There's only ones that just don't fit the situation, as well as, one that you may want to use a lot more often. Like Sticky Bomb and Full Auto on the combat shotgun, for example. Now, this part of the mission, it's just straightforward. Just hit all these little green, buttons. They're not actually buttons, but you know what I mean. They're little beacons. You walk into them, it unlocks a door. Nothing fancy. If I'm not mistaken, though, through here is another combat encounter, obviously, but it's the one that has a Revenant and an Arachnotron immediately as you drop down. And if you don't have the armor, there's free armor and everything, but I'm gonna be honest here, I recommend you actually sniping at him from up top. And, you can quick swap to sticky bombs to rain hell on them, but for the most part, you want those Revenant turrets out of there. Same with the Arachnotron turret. You want all that stuff out of there so you have utter safety, quote unquote, when you go down there, right? It's just a little bit less pressure that they can have on you. At this stage in the game, every little bit helps. Obviously, you see me spamming my fucking flame belches and stuff just because, like, I'm fumbling controls. Like I was mentioning before, that permadeath actually can get to you and it can start getting to your nerves and whatnot, right? You can start making small mistakes. Just give it time. That stuff will stop, alright? Once you start playing on Ultra Nightmare a lot more, you'll be fine. I mean, I'm gonna say that as if I've done a bunch on it. Like I said, practice runs. Nightmare has taught me to try and, have this mentality right in here. But, Nightmare isn't comparable in terms of, consequences for actually messing up. So, a lot of the time it is me running it until I don't die, until I have utter confidence that I can make it. But even with that, I've shown you guys, like, you can mess up in these runs, or the run can run a little bit different from the practice one. So, for the most part, though, keep your distance on Arachnotrons in this encounter. After you've taken out the Revenants and whatnot, you're pretty cash money. Use your chainsaw where you need it. Sticky Bomb from safety. Precision bolts are your best friend. Like, there's no bad thing to use in here because plasma rifle is also one of the Arachnotron's weaknesses, if I'm not mistaken. As you can see here, I use it on him to just completely delete him with Blood Punch at the end there. It's all, just something you will eventually learn, or you can look up, or use the codex, or whatever. It's stuff that will be cemented into your mind after you've played it for a while. So don't worry about it too much, just, keep it in the back of your brain for practice runs, alright? It's the most important part. Another Arachnotron, this guy's whatever. Instantly get rid of his turret, do your best to get rid of fucking his health, give the armor to you. Tried to glory kill him, but as you can see, I jumped the gun a little bit there, which wasn't bad, but for the most part, you don't want to do that, obviously. I checked right here because sometimes when you don't kill all the gargoyles there, there can be one up here and it can kill you while you're grabbing that sentinel battery. So just play it safe, okay? And right there you see the little combo I was talking about. 20 armor, 30 health for one enemy. I'd say that's pretty good, honestly. It's not like, gangbusters, but it's something you can build around and it's consistency, right? That's kind of one of the things you want to try and build up in these missions is a strat that is consistent in the encounters or something like, that you can rely on is what I'm trying to get at. Try to find something that you could find comfort in these missions to help you through it, Whether it's just maining the combat shotgun or learning patterns, whatever, right? Right here, though, they stick you in the little purple goo. You can't dodge in it, so right whenever I go to drop down there, technically, I just jump and dash out, because I'm not fighting in that noise, and you shouldn't either. There's one Kako demon here, couple imps, bunch of guys that are just fodder. This room can catch you if you don't know the Kako demons here. I mean, for the most part, any room can get you, but you need to find out which rooms are worse. This whole level, kind of manageable, but to be honest, like I said, it took me several hours, 2 to 3, to fucking lab this place and get it down to like, yeah, I can do this, maybe do this. This is the run immediately after all my practice runs you're seeing here. And for the most part, yeah, it was pretty straightforward and smooth sailing for me, but that's only because I practiced. I learned that Arachnotron is going to be right there, so what do I got to do as soon as I'm done in that other area? You pull out your precision bolt, get your plasma rifle ready, or your sticky bombs, and go to town on the Arachnotron. Now, for the most part, we are almost done with the mission, right? And I would say the hardest stuff is behind us. Just because, we're starting to get more and more tools, right? There's a lot of traversal until the end of the mission, and there's like one or two combat encounters to worry about from here. For the most part, though, you should still respect, traversal areas instead of just worried about arenas, right? Where you fight, because say you mess up traversal a lot, you're gonna have a ton of armor and health down. You could even die if you mess up traversal too much. So you should still respect these zones just as much as actual, combat encounters. It's just you're more careful in actual arenas. This is the stuff you shouldn't really struggle with for the most part. If you do, I mean, what are you doing on Ultra Nightmare? Practice on other stuff before you try this, but yeah. Drop down here, Arachnotron, get rid of his turret so he can't snipe you. Now you can do your traversal as freely as you want. The only reason I do it before, like popping the turret before I get up here, is because I don't want to have to do it right here. I want to be able to immediately jump up, hit him with a frag, hit him with plasma stuff, get him out of there, free armor, free everything you would need, and then try to, not get hit by the gargoyles and stuff. I don't do the Slayer gates. Not really completionist in this, run. I just want to get the actual missions done. So, for the most part, you won't see me doing a lot of the spare stuff. Right there, I do save a chainsaw for one of those two gargoyles just because, like, I may not need the ammo, but I just want them out of the way fast. They're just annoying. And this area, it's all just, like, story stuff. You don't gotta worry about this too much. Air control coming in clutch right there with, like, helping me skip whole entire spots in that little zone, like, it's not like mandatory, to run air control. Matter of fact, I'm sure a lot of people don't like it. And for the people that don't like it, they have a whole another spot because you only get 3 runes, right? You have a whole other spot there for something actually useful, quote unquote, actually useful because I like air control. See, like, in place of it, I would put like maybe the demons stay and stagger a little bit longer because Mancubus and Up, I imagine, would only stay staggered for so long. So it's good to have them staggered for a little bit longer. Or you do the one where I think it's Seek and Destroy. You fuck, what is it? It's the one where you literally can fucking lunge into the glory kills from a lot further, right? Also a banger Metallica song. But for the most part, that's another good rune. All right, if you need another recommendation, it's there's also one to just save you from dying just outright. I may use that later levels in the run, but I'm trying to build strategies around not using that just because, I'm trying to get better. I'm not trying to rely on small things like that, but I'm not afraid to, you know, get low, sink down to that level. I mean, it's not that deep, right? But I'm not afraid to use the tools in the arsenal, right? So, finally coming to the combat encounter. Quad damage on the left here. Immediately grab that and go to town on the Arachnotron and the Revenant in here. There's going to be some more guys that spawn a little later that could use, that quad damage, but I recommend just getting a good start in this fight and getting your foothold in here first before worrying about whatever's going to spawn later. Because it's more about what's spawning right now in front of you than it is, the stuff spawning after you kill it. All that stuff is important, but you need to be fighting the stuff in front of you, not worrying about the stuff after it. You worry about that when it's here. Either that, or if you're good at planning ahead, plan ahead for it. There's Caco demons in here, there's Arachnotrons in here. Like I said, they could also use that quad damage. If you feel like you need to use it later in this encounter, go for it. I found the most success, though, with starting with the quad damage and, just playing it out from there. As you can see, it worked for me, but you may want to do quad damage in the middle of it when the second Arachnotron spawns. Like that one right there, that was the second one. The first one, obviously, is, you saw me delete it, quad damaged out, he just didn't stand a chance. That's the important part. There's using the little power-ups and tools that they let you. Use that shit, because if you don't, oh my god, you're gonna be making it so much harder for yourself. But there we go. That's Exultia. I don't know the name. Round 2, level 2, whatever the fuck. Done. No deaths. Thank God for the practice runs, people. Telling you, it does pay off to do the practice.